And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans, and happy holidays. I'm your on air host, Sara DiVello, the author of Broadway Butterfly, and I am so excited to welcome back today, live from London, Janice Hallett, here to give us the inside scoop on her latest book, The Christmas Appeal. Janice, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's lovely to be back. Yeah, I've got The Christmas Appeal. It's out now. And yeah, I'd love to tell you about it. It's a novella, as you can see. It's got a lovely, quick, fast, and fun Christmas read. And The Christmas Appeal is a follow up to anyone who knows my other novels. It's a follow up to my 2022 novel, The Appeal. The Appeal, The Christmas Appeal, together. But you don't have to have read The Appeal at all, because in The Christmas Appeal, we pick up on some of the characters 4 years later, 4 years after the events of the first novel. And if anyone has read The Appeal, they'll know that it takes place in and around an amateur drama group called the Fairway Players in a small town called Lockwood. And 4 years on from the events of the first book, we've got a few changes in the group. There's been a change of leadership. There's been some new characters have joined, some old ones have left, but we catch up pretty much immediately on what's happened, and we pick up the group as they're about to stage a Christmas play, a pantomime, a version of Jack and the Beanstalk, which new leader Sarah Jane MacDonald is very keen will be the best production the group has ever staged, and her rival Celia and her husband Joel are equally determined that this pantomime will be the worst production the group has ever staged. And on opening night, a body appears. And just like in The Appeal, we have two young lawyers and their mentor who are reading through emails to try and find out what happened that night and who did it. And as I said, it's really fast, it's really fun. It's a festive read with a bit of murder and darkness thrown in. It was enormous fun to write. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. I really hope that readers have as much fun reading it as I do.
Well, I think readers will, Janice, and I loved how you described it as a fun, fast, and festive read, and also how you tied it to your book that so many of us loved and enjoyed, The Appeal. And I can't wait to talk to you about writing a second installment, writing a Christmas mystery. We have so much to talk about, but first, I just want to welcome everyone who is watching with us. We are going live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So hey, mystery and thriller friends, no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday. And because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful for you. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Janice about writing a second book in the series, about her Christmas, this whole Christmas thriller, Christmas mystery genre. I didn't even know this was a thing. It turns out it's a beloved thing. So we have so much to talk about. Just get the questions going in the comments and I'll get them right over to her. Lynn, welcome to the conversation. She says, good afternoon and evening, ladies. Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Lynn.
Hi, Lynn. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. So, Janice, let's kick off with how did you come up with this idea? When you were writing The Appeal, were you thinking, I want to spend more time with these characters? I want to bring them back. Was it a total surprise? I mean, how did this come about? And how was it to write a second chapter for the Fairway group? Tell us all the things.
Well, first off, it was a total surprise to me that I wrote this follow-up book. I thought the story was over when I finished The Appeal. I had no intention of going back to that world at all. I thought it was done and dusted. Then my editor suggested, she said, how do you feel about writing a Christmas novella, a Christmas crime novella? Try have a think, see, give it a go, see what comes out. And I started, and the very first thing that I wrote, I couldn't believe it. It was from a character that was in The Appeal. And I thought, wow, look at this. What if I did go back? So I wrote a few more emails and a few more interactions between some of these characters. And my goodness, it was like revisiting old friends. It was like going back home after a long time away and catching up with people, peeking between curtains, under rugs, finding out what secrets there are that people have been hiding in those 4 years. I absolutely loved it. So, as you said, I didn't have any, inclination to write a Christmas book until I wrote it, but I had so much fun writing it. I'm a convert to Christmas crime now, having written one. So, yeah, it was wonderful to be back, with those characters.
So as a convert, are we going to see more books in this Fairway series, or perhaps in your other? I mean, are we going to see a Twyford book too? I mean, what's going to happen next, Janice Hallett?
Wow, my goodness, anything could happen. You just never know. Nothing planned at the moment for either of those, but I didn't think that I'd write a Christmas book that was set in the world of the appeal. So anything can happen. I'm not a big person for planning what I write ever.
Mm.
So whenever I sit down, I don't know what will come out. So yeah, I mean, watch this space always.
I will be watching this face always. But Janice, off the top of your head, would it be more interesting to you right now as I'm watching this face? Would the idea of writing a Twyford book too, is that catching your fancy, or would you want to continue this Fairway series? You could be a Patricia Cornwell. You could have 36 case Scarpettas.
Oh, 36, my goodness. Oh, wow. Do you know, I wouldn't rule it out at all. I mean, I had such fun with this that,
Oh,
yeah, if the publisher was, up for another book, I'd give it a go. I'd be game for that completely. Because the great thing about having a group like the Fairway Players is it's very dynamic. It's always changing. There's people leaving, people
mm.
joining. There's a new play every few months that they're doing. So it's a real gift for the storyteller. So yeah, I wouldn't rule it out at all.
I love that. Erin, welcome to the conversation, saying, I think this is why the Christmas appeal works so well, because we want to spend time during the holidays with old friends, even baddie ones. Erin, I love that.
I love that, Erin. That's so great.
I That is such a good point. I hadn't actually thought about that, but that is such a good point. And you're so right. We do want to spend time with our old, familiar, beloved friends and family, and visit them again. What a lovely point. Janice, let me ask you this. So I must be living under a rock or something, because I did not realize that Christmas mysteries were a whole beloved subgenre that people are, as Erin said, batty about. They're just completely obsessed with. So had you thought to yourself, reading the genre, being in the genre, perhaps someday I'll give it a shot, or have you always enjoyed them, or was this news to you as well?
It was kind of news to me. It wasn't really until I started looking for them that I saw them, and it really is a big thing. And, until I started writing one, I didn't realize what fun they were and how uplifting they were. When I started writing the Christmas appeal, it was August, the sun was shining. We had one of the hottest summers like we've ever had. And I put the Christmas records on in this bright sunshine, and I was immediately transported to Christmas and all the uplifting, childhood joy that you get at that time of year. So I perfectly saw what people see in these books that they read over, November, December to get them in the mood for Christmas. And of course, the crime books, the golden age slash cozy crime genre is perfect because at the end everything is tied up. You with a bow, with a
With a
Christmas
bow,
bow.
with a Christmas bow.
So you know who done it. You've got that satisfaction at the end. The bad guys are caught and justice is restored, and that's perfect for Christmas, isn't it? But
It
also, Christmas is quite dark. Do you think Christmas is dark? I blame Dickens for the darkness that we associate with drama at Christmas,
Oh my
and
gosh. That is so funny. Well, you know what? It's interesting, because I had never thought of Christmas as being dark, other than the weather, those early, sunsets. But having crawled out from the rock that I was apparently living under, and realizing that this is a beloved, popular genre, this Christmas mysteries, thrillers, cozies, it makes sense, because people do like that certainty. I know I do, and that that reliability when so much else is uncertain in the world. So I love that. Oh my goodness, my favorite librarian is in the audience. Hi, Tabrisia Jones.
oh, Sabrina, hello.
Tabrisha Jones is an incredible librarian at the New York Public Library and the co-founder and host of the Dueling Detective Series, the New York Public Library's Dueling Detective Series, my favorite series. And she is a huge Janice Hallett fan. She loved the Twyford Code and all of your books. And she says, I love reading Christmas mysteries. It is one of my favorite genres to read during the holidays or any time of year. Yay.
Any time of year. That is fabulous. As I said, I wrote the Christmas Appeal in the summer. So I think there is a place for Christmas all year round.
That is so interesting. Tabrisha saying, hi, Sarah and Janice. Hi, Tabrisha.
Hi, Tabrisha.
Tabrisha recently just returned from a trip to London. She's a huge Anglophile and such an incredible thought leader in the book world. And she loves British fiction, British authors. So I always follow all of Tabrisha's recommendations because this woman has her finger on the pulse of all that is hot and also chilling in the world of fiction and in the world of crime fiction and actually all fiction. So everybody check her out. Lynn saying she didn't know about Christmas mysteries either. Thank you. Okay, so Lynn and I have been living under a rock together, neighboring rocks. We had no idea. If we had been following Tabrisha all this time, we would have known and been in the know. So yes, Lynn, this is a whole beloved genre. And the book is out now, and everybody, we can order it today from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book, so that you can immerse yourself in the world of murder and mayhem just in time for Christmas, to take your book with you or put it under the tree or in the stocking of your favorite mystery lover. So here is that link. No matter where you're watching from, on Facebook or YouTube, you can click and order the Christmas Appeal as well. And I think, Janice, to your point, I think a lot of us, or maybe at least me, was thinking more murders or more, spooky season, Halloween. But let's be honest, us crime fiction lovers, we love murder and mayhem all year round. So that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, murder all year round is great. We were talking about an Easter. Could you do an Easter murder? Could you do a Valentine's murder? You definitely could.
I think Janice Hallett could for the Fairway group. You could have a Valentine's Day massacre. You could have an Easter basket, a dead body next to the Easter baskets. Janice, this could be we're plotting out your next, 4 Fairway group, right? I mean, because you have your detectives in the form of these lawyers. You have your hilarious caper, fun-filled caper characters. Like, you're ready.
Absolutely. And you were talking about Thanksgiving. I mean, Thanksgiving, we could Thanksgiving murder. There must somebody must have already done that. We can't be just the first people to think of that.
Yeah, they could be doing an American collaboration with Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it could be over the Zoom, couldn't they? They could be doing something over the Zoom with their American counterparts.
Exactly. We're seeing Janice Hallett in action, everybody. Yeah. Brainstorming her next book.
This is how books are written. Yeah.
No, Janice, I'm still thinking about what you said about writing this book in August. So the idea of you sitting in, a tank top and shorts, sweating, the sun blaring down on you, but blasting Christmas music in August, it is a vision that's going to stay with me for a long time, because you said as soon as you heard the Christmas music, you got in the spirit. That would be hard for me, though, if you're looking out and it's, summer and hot and sweltering and not, snow flurries, falling merrily.
I always thought I would, struggle, because I'm one of these people who looked at, people who put their tree up on the 1st of November and thought, that's a month too early. But now I get it. I get why people love Christmas so early, because it really does lift up your spirits.
Actually, one of my streaming partners, the co-founders of Bitchy Bookworms, which is one of my streaming partners for the show, we're broadcasting live to that group as well right now. Hi, Bitchy Bookworms. We're so happy to see you. So the co-founder, Christina Cook, puts her tree up on November 1st. She loves Halloween. It's her favorite. Spooky season is her favorite. But November 1st, that tree comes up. And I thought to myself, wow, that's really early. But you're so right. Christmas brings so much joy. Why not maximize the joy?
Yeah, and leave it up until February. Why not?
I do that. I can't. I don't have the heart to take it down. And honestly, the soft glow of the lights brings me so much joy.
Yeah, they are beautiful. The Christmas decorations that you have is They're low-level light. There's probably a mood,
Exactly.
whole area of psychology of Christmas and how and why that is so good for our souls and good for our spirits.
Exactly, exactly. Tabrija says she is here for a Valentine murder mystery. Okay, yes,
Yeah,
I can see it, Tabrija. Broken
yeah,
hearts and broken heads. It
yeah.
could be, a whole thing. Janice, I want to go back to something that you said. You said you never plan out any of your books. Tell us more about that. Bring us into the Janice Hallett creative process. So you're just sitting there waiting for divine inspiration to strike. I mean, how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, my process is quite easy in that it's easy to explain because I just have the blank page, and I sometimes have vague ideas of what I might like to write about, but then I listen out for characters, and I write down what they say, and well, so far so good. They're coming up with books for me. So, for example, the Twyford Code. I thought I wanted to write, a book about a man who was just out of prison, who couldn't read or write, so he had to dictate his novel that he was writing. And suddenly, Stephen Smith, his voice rang out in my ears. I wrote down what he was saying, and he was telling me about his childhood, and that's how the Twyford Code got started. I can't say any more than that. It's quite simple, and I find I've tried to plot. I've tried to write down who gets murdered, who did it, what happens, what the red herrings are, what the plot points are and turning points. For me, that doesn't work. I have to go on a journey with the characters, and that's what I love. And I think it's that element of joy that keeps me writing and takes my characters through their journey that involves a murder and involves solving that murder. And other than that, I don't really plan. But having said that, I don't get away with not plotting at all. I just do it afterwards. So I write my first draft, which ends up being quite a mess. It's about 3 or 4 different books. It's gone in all sorts of directions, and goodness knows what's in there. So I have to then go back and reverse engineer the story that I want. So by the end of that first draft, I kind of know what it is that I want out of that book. And I'll work pretty hard moving the dominoes around to get them to fit at that stage. I always think if I plotted, I wouldn't have that hard work then. But the grass is always greener.
Yeah. So, Janice, when you're sitting there with the pen and the blank page, and you said to see who comes, what if nobody comes?
See, I don't entertain that thought.
Okay.
I don't. If I'm awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe I'll think, what if no one comes? But so far, so good. They've been showing up, these characters.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. You sit down
Yeah.
with a blank notebook and a pen, and literally just wait to see who comes.
Yeah, I think
I
about
love
things.
that.
I sometimes play music. I sometimes do a bit of research into things that interest me.
Mm,
And at some point, I'm set off on the journey.
mm.
Mm.
I love that. So you write your first draft, which you said is a total mess, and then and then you reverse engineer it. What do you mean by that? Do you go through it and then pull it
Be-
out?
Because by that stage, I know what the book is going to be about. I've worked it out by that stage. I can look back at what I wrote earlier and make it fit the ending. So that's when I put in my twists, and I take out perhaps some information that would be giving too much away. So the reader has a little bit more work to do to guess some things. And I'll play around and tweak that story until it's the story you end up reading, which is one that's got twists in it. It's got characters that are untrustworthy because they don't necessarily tell you the truth, and everything is revealed at the right time because the revelations have to be balanced throughout the story. So I make sure that that happens at that stage.
Mm,
It's a lot of fun at every stage. I have to say it's fun to write in that
mm.
way, and it's also fun to work out and to do all these delicious little twists and turns once I've got the story ready. I mean, I've got a novel coming out in January, The Mysterious Case of the Alfreton Angels.
Ooh, tell us
Uh,
about that.
well, that's presented as a bundle of material that was used by a true crime author for her latest book. It's her research material. So it's all of her interviews, her emails, her messages, her notes,
Oh.
her scripts that she writes for herself when she's calling people up to try and get information. So it's all sorts of different disparate information, and pulling all that together at that stage after I'd done the first draft was enormous fun to make sure that I was revealing certain things at certain times. And it's
Ooh.
been fun all the way along. I mean, all my novels are quite different. I have to say, all completely different, and yet they're all my process is similar for all of them. Is that joyful first draft, a lot
Oh,
of hard work to plot.
oh, I love that. I love that. I love that you take joy from it because I think that's so important. I just want to remind everyone that the I'm gonna Tabrija is saying yes. I can't wait. Yay, Tabrija. Me too. This is going to be so
Excellent.
great.
Oh,
Um,
there it is, the mysterious case of the Appleton Angel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So right here is going to be the mysterious case of the Appleton Angels comes out here in the US. It's already out in the UK, but we're a bit behind the times, I'm afraid, over here in the US. So that comes out in January. And here is a link to pre-order it from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. And again, that is Murder by the Book. And that will come out in January here. So the Daily Telegraph in London calls this book a whip smart and fast paced mystery. Again, about a true crime journalist who revives a long buried case about a cult. So, what gave you the idea about the cult, Janice?
Oh, I'm fascinated by cults, and I love true crime generally, but cults in particular really fascinate me. So I really wanted to explore that from the point of view of both sides, really, from the cult leader and from people who are, sucked into what is basically a predator who preys on vulnerable people. Yeah, I'm fascinated by that. And while I was writing it, the Nexium cult was in the news, so it was interesting to watch that unfold as I was writing. So yeah, if
Wow.
you're interested in cults, the Appleton Angels is my cult.
Yeah. I've learned another fascinating detail about Janice Hallett today, that she is fascinated by cults. So very cool. I didn't know that about you,
Mhm.
Janice.
Oh yeah.
Lynn saying she can't wait to read one of your books now that she knows your process. Oh, how
Mhm.
interesting, Lynn. So it's actually
Yeah.
learning more about
Yeah.
Janice's process that makes you curious. I love that. That's so cool that's what hooked you.
I wonder if you'd be able to tell the difference, Lynn, between, say, a writer like me, who's known as a pantser, who don't plan anything, and
Mm.
then a different writer who is a plotter, who makes sure they're very carefully plotted before they start writing. Whether you'd be able to tell the difference. Interesting.
Ooh, I've always wondered that. So, for
Mm.
instance, Jeffrey Deaver, he spends 6 months just plotting, and his plots can run up to 180 pages. He shared. He also writes them tactile in a blackout room with no light, not even a sliver of light. So he blindfolds himself. He has blackout curtains. He turns off all the lights. He seals all light off, and then he types tactile. And I was like, oh my god, that's so weird. Like me too. No, just kidding. um, I was like, stop stealing my ideas, Jeffrey Deaver. No, but he spends 6 months doing that. And then from there, from his 180 page outline he created for 6 months, he then whips out the book in another 6 months, which is so fascinating. So I would also be very interested to know. Janice, I want to talk about how your books are so, as you said, wildly different. The Twyford Code, um, the appeal, the Christmas appeal, and now the Alberton Angels. Lynn saying she loves pantsers. What do you love about pantsers, Lynn? Tell us what you love about pantsers. So so again, you're seeing them with your paper, you see what catches your fancy, you're reading the news. The cult wasn't that the Nexian cult was in the news. What were you reading when you're working on your next book? And tell us a little bit about that, The Examiners.
The Examiner, yeah, The Examiner is set in a university, and it's set in a small group master's degree course. So we have a small group of people, 6 students and their tutor. And what we're doing is reading the coursework and final essays that these students have written to pass the degree. And we're with the examiner. The examiner wants us to help him because he's read it all, and he thinks something happened on this course. He thinks one of the students died and all the others and the tutor are covering it up. So we
Ooh.
need to read all of those essays and um, coursework and discover what happened on that course.
Ooh, so yes. So that is a through line of all of your work, is that we are reading the transcripts or essays or text messages or voice notes.
Yep.
In the case of the Twyford Code, what about this fascinates you? As someone who keeps a diary and has always feared someone will find and read my diary. Tell us what you love about this very voyeuristic
I'm
approach.
really fascinated by how people communicate with each other,
Mm.
whether that's speaking or whether it's written communications. And wrapped up with that is how we communicate when we're talking about ourselves. You say you live in dread of people reading your diary, and yet you've written it down. So
I do.
that really fascinates me. So yeah, diaries fascinate me. Communications fascinate me. Letters, everything about what we write and how we present ourselves to the world. It is a source of eternal interest for me, and that's what fascinates me. I love listening in. I'm a great listener, an eavesdropper on other people's conversations. So I'm kind of doing that while I'm writing, because I think with all of my books, you get this naughty sense that you're listening to something you shouldn't quite be listening to.
Indeed, it's very voyeuristic, deliciously so. And it's interesting to me that what you are fascinated by is how people communicate, because Janice, you've dedicated your whole career, even before the writing of books, to communications in your government work, working as in communications as a speechwriter, even. So it's now I'm sort of even more understanding I'm slowly unraveling the mystery that is Janice Hallett.
And of course, I started as a journalist. Now that really is a communication in its purest form. It's communicating to a mass public, because that's what you do when you're a journalist. You make bite-sized pieces of information to get that information across to your readers. And
Ooh.
that really, I was very aware while I was writing for all the magazines and papers that I write for. People are reading this, and it's communicating something to them. So yeah,
Ooh.
communication is my entire life. I mean, when you say it like that, I kind of realize, yeah, it is.
Why do you think that is? Why is it your entire life?
It's weird because even when I was a child, I was very, very quiet.
Mm.
My actual voice, I really haven't found until I was, the age I am now, really. So I always communicated by writing. And I think it's that fascinates me. I've watched people who are good at talking and really try to work out what they're doing, why they're so good at that, when I always struggled to find my voice, whereas I didn't struggle to find my voice writing. So I think through all of that, I've been very aware that my personal communication has been weighted in favour of one form of communication and not the other. So yeah,
Ooh.
it's really fascinating how we present ourselves and how we get our points across, how we have our voices heard. It's a thing we
Mm.
hear a lot about now. How do you get your voice heard?
Mm.
And that's something I've been, I think, working towards all my life, and now it's happened. So now these books are
Mm.
my voice being heard.
How does
So
that feel? How does it feel to
wonderful,
finally be heard as a quiet child?
absolutely fantastic, absolutely wonderful. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, we're never very far away from the child, are we?
Mm.
I think when we're writing, we connect with something quite primal. Because sometimes, if I'm a little bit stuck on writing, I'll pick up a pen and write something by hand, and I'm immediately connected to when you're a child and you're just writing very freely and you're not bound by, commissions or by self-consciousness. You just
Deadlines.
write.
Yeah.
You just enjoy the writing and enjoy the creation, and that writing by hand connects me to that. So I think writing is very much a regression, I think, to the joy of childhood for me.
Mm. It's interesting because I was reading in the New York Times a couple years ago that when they imaged people's brains as they wrote by hand, it illuminated in the MRI a different area of the brain than did tactile typing. So typing on a computer, a laptop, phone, even a typewriter illuminates and stimulates an entirely different part of your brain than does writing by hand. And it's so true, isn't it? Sometimes you'll be writing, which is why I keep diaries. I just got to get it all out of my head, out of my out of my brain, out of my stress, and just get it down on the page so I can let it go and move on. And it's very therapeutic, I think, but it's also
Therapeutic.
very primal.
Yeah, therapeutic, definitely the word. Yeah, writing is therapy. However you do it, I think, even if it's writing a letter to someone or communicating by text with someone, it's a connection. And it's a connection with the outside world.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my gosh, totally. It's a connection with the outside world. I love that. And exactly. And I feel like if you boil down the reason we write books, it's for connection. And the reason we read books is for connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. Um, You guys, we are out of time, but what a wonderful, heart-filling, mind-opening, spirit-nourishing conversation this has been with Janice Hallett live from London, here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book, The Christmas Appeal, out now. So I'm going to drop that link one more time. So no matter where you're watching from, on Facebook or YouTube, grab your copy now from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book. And you can put it in the stocking or under the tree of your favorite mystery and holiday lover, or yourself. Because you know what? This is a season of giving a lot to others. What about you? You deserve to curl up with a well-steeped cup of tea, and a good Christmas thriller. So here is that link. Click, click, click. Order. Get your hands on the Christmas Appeal. And speaking of cup of tea, here is the link to Tabrisha Jones. She is at Cup of Tea Jones. She's my favorite librarian, New York Public Library librarian, and the founder of the Dueling Detective series. So here is Tabrisha Jones, Cup of Tea Jones. So everyone go and follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which I think is now called X, but that's stupid. So I'm calling it Twitter. And I hope you have a wonderful. Oh, Tabrisha's saying, please read. It is so good. Yay, Tabrisha.
Oh,
That's
thank you, Bridget.
a high praise from you, ma'am. Erin saying, thank you both so much for joining this. Erin, what a pleasure to have you. Janice, thank you for coming back. And you know you're always welcome. It's such a pleasure to speak with you, as always. And I look forward to having you back when your next book is out.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's been an absolute joy to talk to you and to everybody who's tuned in. So thank you so much for having me.
Yay, my pleasure. All right, everybody. If you are in the US, happy Thanksgiving. If you are anyone else, I hope you have your week is off to a killer start. And I will see you next week for Mystery Monday. Lynn saying, thank you both. Lynn, thank you for tuning
Thank
in
you.
and sharing your thoughts on pantsers versus plotters. Y'all have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Take very good care until then.